What's up? My name is Ken Dumbo, the MC with the sauce. Don't forget to subscribe to JQ.
What the story is about, and we're glad that you could join us today, Prophet.
Thank you. Good morning, Vita. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning to you. Let's start off our chat here on just getting your reaction with relation to what was uncovered here. These, two individuals who had, according to them, been sent to practice witchcraft, and this obviously being towards the president of this country. Well, what is your reaction towards this?
Well, first of all, my reaction would be if the police are the ones that arrested them, then it's a joke. That's my first reaction, because witchcraft is a very complex spiritual. A witch cannot be arrested by a legal practitioner like the police. That's the beginning. So for me, my first reaction is, how were they arrested? Who arrested them? And how? Because witchcraft in itself, that even us who are in the religious circles, like pastors and prophets, it's practically, it takes a higher dimension. That's the bottom line.
As a man of God yourself, shouldn't you believe that perhaps it's because of maybe prayers or intervention from higher powers that this did not happen, and they came and just confessed on their own? It's like a revelation of those who want to cause harm to a child of God.
But listen, these are people that have practiced witchcraft for a very long time. Believe me, it sounds good to hear that somebody actually confessed, but witchcraft in itself, it arms itself. For a witch who is on a level of practicing witchcraft and giving it to another person to practice, like a witch doctor, will not just go and confess. They will not, because if they go and confess, number one, the witchcraft in itself is self-armed. It's like a bomb. The moment you speak about it and you begin to reveal certain secrets without being in a spiritual covering kind of arrangement, if they confessed in a church, it makes sense. If they confess at the police, what then covers them not to die? Because witchcraft kills. It kills the practitioner. It kills even the person that is practicing it. So it doesn't make sense. To me, if you tell me that a witch came to confess in a church setting, I would say it's the power of God, the power of the Holy Spirit. That person has been arrested by God. If you are arrested by God, the place to go and confess is church, not the police. Because the police don't have the technicality or the mechanism to keep that witch safe from his or our own witchcraft.
But you're saying that these two individuals are not witch doctors at all. They cannot be able to practice the witchcraft.
Well, I doubt if they have actually practiced witchcraft. I doubt it highly, because you see, witchcraft is when you talk about demonology, witchcraft doesn't just have the power to fight the person that you are dealing with. In this case, maybe they say they want to kill the president. Their charm, there's what we call a back to sender. When a charm is released to go and harm somebody, if it fails, it goes back to the person that sent it. So the question is, whom are they confessing to? The police have got a skill set to arrest with regards with physical matters that can be proven. But now, how do they, when they go to the police and say, we are confessing, we were hired to harm the president, what happened for them to confess? But
even with the police, so they're different, they're men of God.
Yes.
In the police forces service,
yeah.
The men of God, there are people who have different spiritual understanding and standing, and actual standing. So couldn't that have also played a role to this confession coming out? Because there's a higher power which maybe some of the police possess,
yes,
that allowed them to find themselves in this situation where these witch doctors actually come out and just start to reveal themselves, because those maybe police have a certain spirit that they carry that was that just called the witch doctors to let out that evil and confess to what they planned on doing.
I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that a witch who is a practicing witch can go to a police station and not a spiritual ground like a church and go and confess. I highly doubt that. Because you see, the complexity of witchcraft by itself, you know, yeah, there are people in the police who are prayerful, who have the fear of God, they're standing with God. But a witch doctor is more than a witch. Let's go there first of all. A witch doctor is more than a witch. A witch doctor is not only a person that sort of practices witchcraft, but he's also a witch finder. So he has means and ways of hiding his own witchcraft. He's a witch finder. So I want to understand how they reach the point of going to the police and not go to church. Because number one, what they will seek if they are confessing is protection. Not from the people that hired them, but from their own witchcraft, if indeed they practice witchcraft. Because witchcraft kills the practitioner. And there is no spiritual backing to protect you. Your own witchcraft will eat you. That is why witches kill their children, because they are afraid that in their covenants, if they are not, they have not, their own witchcraft will kill them. So in this case, if they were arrested, they were put in police custody, and they have been arraigned to court. The question is, how have they been protected spiritually, and by whom? Because the police doesn't have that skill set. They don't.
Then, Prophet, from your understanding, should there be collaborative effort between maybe men of God like yourself and yes, and the police, for us to come to a certain on curbing witchcraft and harm to others, those witch doctors that plan on harming others? Could this only work with collaborative effort and just putting into, I know the Witchcraft Act, many people came across the Witchcraft Act after this story made headlines, and putting that into consideration with what you're saying also now, the only way to curb this, would it be with collaborative effort between you, the clergy, and the police? Is that a way it could work?
Definitely, because now it would have made sense to me if a member of the clergy received a matter that certain witch doctors have come to me and they've made these confessions, and looking at the gravity of the offense, we've decided to involve the police. Because then the investigation of the police relies on another spiritual person to ascertain if this witchcraft is real or it's just a claim. Because remember, you can claim that I have this and it works like this. We have so many people who have been scammed by fake witch doctors who say, I have this charm, it can work for this and this and this, and it doesn't work like that. I'm sure as a media personality you've read about that somebody was scammed like that. So if the police are to be credible in their investigation, they rely on collaboration with the church. But in the absence of the church, or in the absence of, in the villages, people, you have things like witch finders. If somebody is accused of witchcraft, I've seen in certain settings like where they call a witch finder and they say they want to find out if really this person is practicing witchcraft. So there is a collaboration, sort of. But then even when there is that sort of collaboration itself, it's really difficult to ascertain if a person who is practically confessing by himself, if indeed that person is a witch. Because witches have a covenant of non-disclosure. You understand? So if a witch is disclosing by himself, what happened? And that is what I'm interested in learning. What happened to the witch? Did the witch become, if you said the witch became compassionate, or the witch felt he can't do the assignment, it's definitely false. Nobody who has an assignment of witchcraft will fail to accomplish an assignment that he or she has been hired to do, because witchcraft thrives on performing evil. So there is nowhere a witch that thrives on performing evil will just turn in a twinkling of an eye to say, I don't want to do this. There must be a higher power. And like you have said, I've not heard anywhere where there was a collaboration from either the church or a witch finder. Because now we are dealing with spirituality, complexity of the level of work that it takes for a witchcraft to perform certain acts. It leaves a lot of things to be desired. Because for me, I'm failing to understand if these people are actually witches. That's just me. As a man of God, I'm failing to understand if truly they are practicing witches. We've seen people who have gone through deliverance, and it takes them years to actually admit that I'm a witch. It's difficult for a witch to admit I'm a witch. So what happened? That's the question. Even when there is collaboration, the question should be, what has made this witch to come and confess? What is the motive behind it? And this is what the public is, if we go to the public, this is what the public is asking. What is the motive to televise? Because then, if the motive to televise is to say this person and this person and this person hired this person to practice witchcraft, then we are taking the country to sort of, it's a joke. You understand?
But there is a whole Witchcraft Act that speaks into criminalizing a person that is practicing witchcraft. I think when you take a look at it and take a thorough read, you will see that there's a specific section that focuses on just that. So it should simply tell you that it's a very serious matter, and there is need for people to also understand the complexities of this, and then seeing that it's not so often that you get to see such matters being taken or brought before the court. This one, I think from the top of my head, is probably the second one, from one that I can remember. But don't you think that this in itself is...
Witchcraft Act, Article 90. Now, here's what I find in the Witchcraft Act. A person that is practicing witchcraft or has charms, wants to do harm, in simplest terms, is liable to prosecution or a fine. Now,
or imprisonment.
Or imprisonment.
Yes.
Now, here's the issue. The judicial system or the framework of judiciary doesn't have the skill set. I'm still going back to the same thing. Doesn't have the skill set to prove that this is actually a tool for witchcraft.
What makes you think that the judiciary does not have the skill set? We have an entire law that is talking specifically about that. Don't you think that thorough information has been put together for them to be able to either convict someone or maybe acquit them?
It takes a witch to know a witch. If we are dealing with matters of law, right, we are dealing with issues of facts over sentiments. Now, if I say I am practicing witchcraft with these two, what proof do I have that these two actually works? So if the judiciary has to prove that these people are actually practicing witchcraft, they have to find somebody that is vested in the knowledge of witchcraft. Do we have such people in the judicial system in Zambia that have vested knowledge in witchcraft and are able to tell that this charm literally works? Because I can make a false claim that this works, and I can accuse you, Justin, to say Justin hired me to say I must bewitch Vida, and this is what I gave Justin, or this is what I'm using. But does it work? If you take a matter to court and say, okay, this person has a gun, for example, has a gun, and if that gun is a real gun, that person is liable to prosecution if they threatened you. Number one. Number two, if the gun doesn't work, or it's a toy gun, they brought out a toy gun in their house, it's very difficult for you to prove that it wanted to cause harm to you. It's very, very difficult because it's a toy. It doesn't work. So what skill set does the judiciary have to prove that these people actually, in all sense of, the prosecution has to prove that they actually wanted to cause harm to the president?
No, also the Council of Churches has chastised both the executive and the judiciary for this decision to broadcast live this case of the witch doctors. They say it's not a serious matter. With the things that you're saying now, is that also your view that this should not be broadcast because it's not exactly a serious matter?
I agree with the Council of Churches on a lot of fronts. When we are talking about televising something to the nation, we are not only speaking to Zambia as a nation, we are speaking to the globe. Now, if we are speaking to the globe, the questions that the entire international community we ask is, does the Zambian legal system, in their framework, do they have the capacity to prosecute this case? And we just look like it's a joke on the international community, because Kenya will not do that, because they know, Uganda will not do that. They know that, literally speaking, witchcraft cannot be proven without anyone on the panel of judges or the prosecution having vast knowledge in the acts of witchcraft. Which I don't think there's any prosecutor in Zambia that will come up and say, I'm a witch and I have knowledge in witchcraft. I know this charm works. I know what they wanted to do actually would have caused the harm. The issue is proving whether the tools they have would have caused the harm to His Excellency the President. If it can't cause harm, then there's no case. If it can cause harm, then there's a case. So who proves that?
Hence the need for something of this nature to be brought to the public. So do you still disagree that it's not an important matter?
Well, you see, when we're talking about bringing, the public already knows that witchcraft exists. They know. But how many people have you ever seen going to court, like we have rightly put it, saying, I'm taking this person to court because I suspect them of witchcraft? How many people do we see on a daily basis in our churches confessing that they are witches and confessing to all sorts of atrocities they've acted against other people? Do we take them to the police and say, this is what this person did, they did this and this and this, and then they have to be taken to court, and then the court is an entity that deals with issues that can be proven. Witchcraft cannot be proven in a court of law. It's a fact. Even if Article 90 states that a person that is practicing witchcraft, let me also take you to how Article 90 was framed. Article 90 was framed to actually criminalize people that were sort of leaders in the African setting by colonial masters in order to prosecute them falsely. Do you get it? It wasn't an act of justice. It was an act of leaders that used to come out in the colonial days to be leaders of a revolution or a rebellion. In order to curb it, Article 90 was framed so that if I say Justin is practicing witchcraft, the colonial rule has to just sort of unjustly prosecute Justin because of an ulterior motive. What is the motive? The motive is they don't want Justin to talk. That was how Article 90 was framed. It wasn't framed to actually bring a sort of a protection to the general population. No. It was an act framed particularly to protect colonial masters from black people that were speaking against them. That was it.
Right. Well, obviously we know that this was amended in 1993 and 1994. But I love that you bring up the aspect of, the court does not have capacity to prove whether witchcraft is real or it's false. But there is a section here, and I have Article 90 open. It says, any person who represents himself as able by supernatural means to cause fear, annoyance, or injury to another in mind, person, or property, or pretends to exercise any kind of supernatural power, witchcraft, sorcery, or enhancement calculated to cause fear, such as annoyance or injury, shall be liable to a fine to no more than 1,500 penalty units, or to imprisonment with or without hard labor. So it simply means that regardless of whether it's fake or real, but for as long as this person presents himself to be able to practice these things or exercise any kind of supernatural power, they are liable to imprisonment or can be fined with these points that the legislation is talking about here.
Brilliant. That article, if you read the bracket of that article speaks to witch doctors. Am I right? In the underlined brackets,
it's speaking specifically of individuals who represent themselves as practicing.
Yes, so it speaks to witch doctors practicing. It speaks to witch doctors. So should we now go and array all the witch doctors because they're practicing, and they can cause harm, and it's public knowledge that witch doctors don't only do good, they cause harm. So should we go and array every witch doctor and take them to court and fine them and imprison them? Because it's the same within I understand that witch doctors are given licenses. I understand that they work within a particular legal system, that their work is legal.
The two also do have the documentation. The two in this matter.
They have documentation.
The documentation to practice.
So they have documentation to practice.
Yes.
So to practice good and to practice evil, they have documentation to do that. So where is the crime? Because they have now, because you see the article.
So you're saying that this piece of legislation is contradicting
yes
itself.
it's contradicting itself, because after that amendment, there is also, I don't know when witch doctors started to be. Before that, witch doctors were not given licenses. Now witch doctors are given what? Licenses. So if they are given licenses to practice and to, I read that there is also joint charges of cruelty on animals. We understand that within the licensing of a witch doctors use animal sacrifices. So if those are licensed witch doctors, then those cases, they fall within the license of the witch doctor. So it's the article itself contradicts itself, and that's where we are saying it's difficult to prove. We look forward to see how they are going to adjudicate on the matter, but we are saying if they put it in close brackets where we do not embarrass ourselves as a nation, a Christian nation, to the international community, that we are bringing a matter that does not in itself self-explain how it can be handled, it is better for us. And we are not saying they should not be taken to court, but we are saying it must be a closed court, so that the nation is not put into disrepute, because the courts in Zambia are respected. So we don't want the respect of the Zambian courts to be ridiculed. And that is what we are saying. Many people take people to when you go to the local courts, you hear issues of witchcraft every day. But we do not broadcast them on national TV because we want to keep the respect of our courts.
In this matter, we know who's involved. It's not just any ordinary being that was mentioned that they planned on harming. It's the head of state that was mentioned that they had been sent to harm. So even with putting this into consideration, you still do not think that it's a serious matter, seeing the name that was mentioned that they were sent out to do. It's not. This is not the first president that we are hearing has been a target by witch doctors. We had seen even as early as Kenneth Kaunda. There had been reports of him dining with somebody who leaves a note, and somebody who shows up at State House would show up and not be seen. Invisible figure who had been. We had grown up to such stories. So we have been hearing these attempts by witch doctor supernatural powers on presidents from then, the very first president. And with the mention of the current president, you still do not think this is a serious matter that deserves the public to understand why such a job would have been given to witch doctors?
Vida, you see, with regards with this case, are we now relying, as a Christian nation, with a Christian president, are we now relying on the police to protect the presidency? Because if you are telling me that everyone that is practicing witchcraft in closed doors cannot harm the president because we have the police, then it makes it a joke. Because witchcraft is a spiritual attack. So the safety of the president against witchcraft is God. It's not the police. No matter how many people you array to court, the truth is the president cannot be loved by all. And the others who hate the president are witches. And the truth of the matter is they don't need to come into public and say, I want to attack the president spiritually. They are doing it on a daily basis. He has to get to a place where he understands that he's the head of a state. And in that state, there are a lot of witches, more than 200,000 witches in Zambia, who wants to harm him on a daily basis. So he cannot rely on the police. He cannot rely on the judiciary. He has to rely on a firm standing with God. Spirituality. We are dealing with a spiritual matter, therefore setting an example. If this is an example to say if you practice witchcraft against the president, you are going to be arrested, it's a failed mission. Because not every witch is going to be arrested. Some fly to community house in the night. How are you going to arrest those? Some fly to State House, like you've put it. How are you going to arrest those? So we cannot rely as a Christian nation on our police and the justice system to protect any citizen against witchcraft. We have to rely on the power of God. Witchcraft is real, but what is more real is the power of God.
But you do agree that it must be criminalized?
Well, if we say it must be criminalized, I still go back to, how do you prove? You can't prove. Even the people, you see, for me, I think these people who are saying we were hired, I don't think they are real witches. Because a real witch will die with their witchcraft. A real witch will never come to the public and say, I was hired for the president. Maybe they are seeking for attention, or they want to sort of, what word can I use? To sort of incriminate somebody into a matter that the person doesn't really even know. You understand? I could go to somebody today and say, okay, I'm looking for this help. We understand that people go for help. They go to church, they go to witch doctors to seek for help. Somebody would go to a witch doctor, have a private meeting with a witch doctor, and then the witch doctor says, Prophet Genesis came and he hired me to kill the president. Who proves that that is true?
We need to close it up, Justin. But quickly, in conclusion, can I just ask this? With what you've said, that security that is given to the president is not enough if we're going to deal with spiritual things like this, and really shortly, please, would you maybe advise that the president maybe needs also assignment on the clergy, that side of protection, spiritual protection, maybe to have more people from the religious standing to be the security that's more than just physical?
I believe the president has that spiritual security. I believe there is what is called State House Fellowship. There are prayers that are done at State House. The president is surrounded by members of the clergy. You see him every now and then with Council of Bishops, church mother bodies. So I believe he has adequate spiritual backup, that he needs not to be afraid of somebody that is claiming that he wants to harm him. And of course, we do not wish the president to put his trust in any man. Cursed is a man that puts his trust in a fellow man.
Exhibiting undignified behavior. The incident occurred after Mr. Mpundu attempted to confront Chama South Member of Parliament Davison Mungandu, who had risen on a point of order. Mr. Mungandu accused Mr. Mpundu of being involved in facilitating the movement of former Petauke Central Member of Parliament Emmanuel J. Banda. According to Mr. Mungandu, it was inappropriate for Mr. Mpundu to continue accusing the government of abducting Mr. Banda. Mr. Mpundu responded with running remarks, visibly angered and almost advanced towards Mr. Mungandu. This prompted First Deputy Speaker Attractor Chisangano to intervene and call for order in the House. And joining us right now in studio is Nkana Member of Parliament himself, Mr. Binwo Mpundu. Honorable, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Vida. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm all right. I was saying, no sooner had Parliament resumed.
The trouble
Indeed.
So it's a pleasure to
thank you, my brother.
Here.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I can see you well, and hoping that you haven't been chased anywhere else.
No. At this home, I'm not being
chased.
Let's start off our chat here by looking at what transpired, and many will say that you being kicked out of or chased out of Parliament is justifiable because you had shown emotion of anger and even almost advanced towards the Chama South Member of Parliament. Do you agree that what was decided here is justifiable, you being asked to leave?
First of all, it's very sad that we have become a country where the victims will become the villain. Clearly, for all those who followed these incidents in Parliament on Friday, who agree, if we are not economic with the truth, that I was a victim. I was abused by Mungandu. I was defamed deliberately by Mungandu. But in the end, I'm the one who gets to be seen to be a villain. It's typical of what this society has become. We don't focus on the aggressions. We focus on the reactions. In the first place, there will never be a reaction if there is no aggression. we must put it very clear. Mungandu goes scot-free with the worst form of I would call insolence in parliament and behavior, because Mungandu, being a very senior member of parliament, cannot use parliamentary privilege to go and abuse a fellow member of parliament. Let's start with what happens. Mungandu, first of all, if you followed the incidents, I asked a very simple question to Honorable Jack Mwimbu. Honorable Jack Mwimbu was addressing Parliament, suggesting that the safe city cameras were now, aiding the work of the police to combat crime. And my question to the Honorable Minister was very simple. Now that you are here, can you now at least assure the citizens of this country that those safe city cameras are now fully operational? They are functional, that will be able to feel safe, as opposed to what happened when Honorable JJ Banda was reported missing. Because you all remember that when JJ disappeared, we were all looking to the safe city cameras. In fact, in the area where JJ disappeared, that is a most secure area of Lusaka. We're talking about the American embassy being there. The American embassy area is the most secure area in this country. But not only are we relying on the American embassy's security system, we also were relying on the safe city cameras. Interestingly, on that day, those cameras went off. Okay, so now Honorable Jack Mwimbu coming to Parliament to assure the citizens that the safe city cameras are working and they are aiding the work of the police. I was merely asking a very simple question. Can you now guarantee us that these safe city cameras are now okay? We can feel safe that even if I'm abducted today, the police will simply be able to go to the cameras and pick who abducted me. A very simple question. You should go back to Parliament records and hear the answer I got from Honorable Jack Mwimbu. He never even attempted to answer my question. He went all about to talk about my movement, to talk about Manaba Munyaule and everything else, which was unrelated. Now, the procedure of Parliament is that a minister must respond to a question and not bring in things that are not part of the conversation. To cap it all, Mungandu rises on a point of order to accuse me or to suggest that on that floor I was accusing government of abducting JJ. When did I ever accuse government of abducting JJ? I have never. From the time that JJ disappeared, we can go back to all the records. I have never insinuated that government abducted JJ, even though the country is aware now that when JJ was found, he named the people that abducted him. And sadly, the people that are mentioned are very close to the powers that be. It's not me. It's not me, Vita. It's JJ who says this one and that one were the people that abducted me. I have never accused government. But Honorable Mungandu comes to the house and says Binwe Mpundu has been accusing government of abducting JJ. Sadly, he goes on to suggest that I am the one who facilitated the movement of JJ or the disappearance of JJ from the Chipata hospital. Now, that is huge. That is too big an allegation. But do you know why Mungandu does that? Is because he knew he was being protected by the speaker. Because ordinarily, the speaker should have stopped him.
Why would you say he was being protected by the speaker? The speaker had said to you that, because you were there, you were charging at the MP after he made those remarks. Instead of just waiting for the speaker's reaction, which she said to you that she would have actually stopped him from and have had him take back his word. But you were not satisfied with that. Why couldn't you just wait for what she had said, that she would have actually ruled in your favor?
First of all, the ruling of the speaker was because we protested. It was not just me who protested. Kapianga also stood up to protest on my behalf. Because first of all, the speaker's role is to ensure that parliament is conducted in a dignified manner. The manner in which Mungandu presented himself was not dignified. He should have been stopped right from there. But he continued until we stood up to protest, until I went up from because I saw that I was not being protected. Remember, parliament is a big forum. The whole country is listening, and the whole country, we are a very gullible people. we are bound to believe anything that is said on the floor of the House. There are some people today who believes that what Mungando said is the truth. And if I had not stood up, Mungando was not going to be curtailed. But you see what society has become. There's an aggression. In fact, had it not been for parliamentary privileges or immunities, Mungando committed a crime on me. He defamed me. Westmore, he abused me right in front of the speaker. That is soup for most of our people. You don't condemn it. Nobody, I have checked social media pages. Nobody has mentioned Mungando's abuse.
Now, even when you condemn this, sorry, Justin,
No, go
well,
ahead.
when you were charging at him, what was in your mind? Because we see it's not very audible, whatever you were saying. You're charging at him, you're angry. What was your intention?
Well, for me, I was
at
basically trying to, get the attention of the speaker. That no, madam, you cannot allow this nonsense to continue. My standing up was basically to protest. Parliament, we are allowed to protest. You don't see us walking out. You don't see us standing up. It is provided, and you see, this is what is interesting. People now must understand what Parliament is. Parliament is not church. We are not pastors. We are not campaigners. We are politicians. Politicians actually fight. I don't mean physically, but they fight with ideas. In that parliament, in fact, we are the most decent, if not ancient. In fact, let me say ancient parliament in the region. In other parliament where the parliamentary democracies, people stand up to express their anger. You should see what's happening in South Africa.
We see it, but that's a little extreme sometimes.
No. That is what parliament is. That is what politics is. Okay? So it is provided for within the rules of parliament that when you are not satisfied with the proceedings, you can protest. But the procedures or what is permitted in the protest, you can stand up. Okay? You can heckle from your chairs. You can walk out. All I did
Not
was
angrily walk towards somebody, which is what you were saying doing.
Look, I simply stood up because I was not being protected. And this is exactly what we are saying here. Society must look at this problem from two ends. There's an aggressor here. There's a criminal here called Mungando, who has actually defamed me. Had it not been for parliamentary privileges, Mungando would have been taken to court on defamation. You see, to accuse that Binwell facilitated the movement of JJ from hospital is huge. I could have been in jail if I did that. But Mungando goes on television in parliament to accuse me. What does society do? What does Zambians do? They focus on Binwell. And did I ponona him? I didn't. You can imagine if I had laid my hands on him. It would have been hula. But all I did was to simply protest.
It looked like that's what you were about to
Well,
do.
in my other life, surely you would have gotten that. In my other life, I'm now grown.
Let's talk about what you intend to do now, because you are saying that this accusation is huge, and I mean, if he brings out this accusation, it simply means that he has evidence and he can prove that you facilitated for the escape of JJ. But what do you intend to do now?
Look, come on, he's just a very mischievous guy. Okay, so for those of you who haven't followed these things, I raised on a point of order on Tuesday on 4 members of parliament, those who went campaigning for UPNG when in fact they were sponsored to parliament by PF. So there was Mungando, there was Elias Daka, there was Jonathan Daka, and there was Andrew Lubusha.
And Mishek?
No. I just raised on these 4. Mishek was a special case because he's an independent. Okay, so I raised a point of order on these 4. Now, when I raised the point of order, Mungando stood up in that parliament that day on Tuesday. Mungando stood up to try and protest against my point of order. He was simply stopped because you can't raise on a point of order or on a point of order against a point of order. So it's like it's something that has been burning in him to try and do, a revenge on me. Sadly, on his revenge, he decides to come and defame me. Okay? Now, ordinarily, if Mungando had uttered those statements outside parliament, he would be dancing to my tune. Okay? Because that is defamation, okay? But he's protected by parliamentary immunities. What you say in parliament cannot be used against you in any litigation. So even if I started any legal pursuit, I would be, you know, attempting fate.
But you really think he would make such allegations just of mischief and that there's no backing whatsoever? This could be the start of something.
Vida, if Binwell facilitated the movement of JJ from the hospital, would he be here? Honestly speaking.
Well, I mean, we've seen criminals go scot-free and evade the police.
We must have a useless. We must then have a very useless police service. If that was the case, if Binwell facilitated the movement of JJ from the hospital and is sitting here, we must then have a very useless, you know, system, law enforcement system, because by now I would have been rotting in jail. But between you and me, Mungando was just being mischievous, and he knew very well that he was going to be protected by the speaker. And I knew very well that Mungando was not going to be curtailed by the speaker, because they've had a free for oath kind of arrangement. For me, if I uttered a simple statement in that line, I would have been curtailed before I could even start. But these guys enjoys all that freedom that they can stand and defame. Sadly, I want to repeat, society is focusing on Binwell being the villain. Binwell, you know, Vida is the victim here. Why can't we for once put ourselves in the shoes of Binwell? Even you, Vida, put yourself in the shoes of Binwell. You are being accused to have committed a crime, and somebody is being protected by the speaker.
Again, I'll take it back to what the speaker had to say, Honorable. With what she had to say, that hadn't you reacted in the manner in which you had reacted, she would have ruled in your favor. Doesn't this take you back to your reaction? Don't you wish maybe you reacted in a better way than charging at him and whatever audible was happening there, we weren't able to hear?
So tell me what the appropriate reaction would be. I'll give you these scenarios. Mungando is allowed to finish abusing me. You give him the freedom, let him abuse Binwell Mpundu. Then afterwards, Binwell Mpundu should rise up and raise a point of order. By the way, the procedures of Parliament does not allow you to rise up on a point of order. Okay? Now, you must clearly say that. Let's, you know, hypothetically put it this way. Let's allow Mungando to finish abusing me, because he was basically abusing me. He abused me on a point of order. The procedures of Parliament is that I could not have risen, because the only avenue available was for me to also rise up, to rise on a point of order against Mungando. The procedures of Parliament do not
the best
allow.
Option to have taken then?
You can't rise on a point of order on another point of order. So I couldn't have risen on a point of order against him. So in that scenario, I couldn't have done anything. You must get it from here. I couldn't, even the speaker knows, I couldn't have done anything, because you can't ride on a point of order against a point of order. Now, the next action could have been, let me go and complain to the speaker. Afterwards, I write a complaint to the speaker. You know very well that when Mungando, those surrogates from PF who have jumped to UPND are protected by the speakers. What would my complaint have amounted to? Nothing. Because even in this case, we can clearly see that if the speaker chose to chase me, she should have also chased Mungando, because Mungando had defied the order of Parliament. Mungando had abrogated the rules of Parliament by vilifying or by abusing a fellow member of Parliament. If the speaker saw it fit to chase me, why not chase Mungando?
Honorable, have you ever tried to write to the speaker? It's not the first time
To
you're being
waste time?
chased. Why would you take it that it would be a waste of time
It's
when
a
you've never
waste of
tried
time.
it?
It's a
You've
waste.
never tried it.
Vida, I'll give you a scenario. Before JJ Banda went out of Parliament, before his episode, there was an instance when JJ was being chased out of Parliament, and he went talking by the door, and then a whole horde of MPs from UPND rose up to go and physically manhandle him. They all rose up from their chairs, charged at him to manhandle him. We made a complaint against those. You know the story. Nothing. So, do you think that I have a lot of time in this world that I must be writing to the speaker that I know will continue to shield us? So please, don't miss this point. We must change our approach as a Zambian people. There are a lot of people who are being victimized. and we are not paying attention to those who are victimizing others. We are paying attention to the reactions of the victims. I'll give you another example. If somebody says, Vida, defend yourselves against Bamabuto. Okay? First of all, why am I going to focus on that defense and not on the aggression? There are criminals here who are attacking people in the name of cadres. Right at the police station, by Sanama Panga asks somebody. And then we call out, guys, if they're going to attack you at the police station, it means we have a problem. Start defending yourselves. You then pick the defending part as the big issue. You forget that, no. There are people who are attacking people. Why don't we focus on that? Because there won't be defense in the first place if there's no aggression. So we must, it's like the story of Tayari. Tayari is attacked at his home. The whole country sees footage of men with guns. They go to attack him. Tayari complains. Tayari becomes a villain. In the end, he's taken to court because he sees that there's no justice system. This is what this country sadly has become. We're focusing on the victims who are being turned into villains and not the actual, perpetrators of the crimes. Mungandu in this case, Mungandu is the culprit, is the criminal in this instance.
Let's talk about the officers that preside over the business of the House. Obviously, this being the Speaker of the National Assembly and her deputies. Every single time we've had you here on the Diamond Breakfast, it seems like you always complain about their conduct. Is there anything really that you think you can commend them for, that here they did justice in handling this matter?
Sometimes they do try.
Okay.
And I have exceptions, particularly for Tractor Sangano. Obviously and honestly speaking, there are very few instances when Tractor would send you out. She sent me a couple of times, but even then sometimes you even know that our panindufianya, it's justifiable, because when she chases you, you must have done something. But that particular case, I disagree with her. So yes, there are certain instances, and I can single out our Tractor. She's been excellent. I think that she's been a very fair, presiding officer. She's listened. She's allowed people to flow, even though at some point also she gets carried away. Look, we haven't been asking for anything special from these speakers. All we've been asking for is fair treatment. If you will allow this person to flow from the UPND, allow also somebody from the opposition to flow. Don't you see it awkward that speakers choose to use, I think, what is not reasonable? For instance, I bring a matter where I'm raising I raise a matter saying, ZNS officers killed or shot dead a young person in Mufrira. This is news. It was news. Where a boy was shot by ZNS officers in Mufrira.
15-year-old. Everybody,
including my 2-year-old son, was watching that on TV. I bring that matter as an urgent matter in Parliament. The Speaker rises to say, bring the evidence. Yes, there's need for evidence in the House. Do you think there's a need for evidence for that story? Honestly speaking, what planet does the Speaker live in for him to request that I must bring evidence? Otherwise, I am joking, or I am making insinuations. So there are certain things where it could even be just we even know that I deserve to be treated this way, or to be stopped, or to be sent out. But there are many instances where we feel very badly treated or very unfairly treated. But Yama guys back with PND, they pass a lot of unpalatable in that house. You have no idea. It's just that the mics don't pick. We are subject of abuse at the hands of those characters you see on the right side. If you try anything, the slightest of it, or you are sent out. So we have not been asking for special favors from the speakers. We don't deserve special favors. All we have been asking for over these last 3+ years is, can we be fair? can we be impartial? Can we at least give each other a chance to represent our people? Because when you can tell me at every 10, how am I going to represent the views of the people? We're not asking for anything special. After all, we are not considered human in that parliament. That is why even just, the composition of the committees, I'm tossed out from one committee to another, even to facilitate for another person to come and take a chairmanship. I was in the last committee of parastatals. I was removed from that committee only to facilitate for another person to come and be there to get a chairmanship. So you find Kangombe is tossed out from the energy committee for merely interrogating the energy situation. You see that, parliamentarians move, but speaker moves. Okay? She moves. Whenever she's moving, she goes with members of parliament. If we so, but you see, not that we would like to be moving with her, but we're saying that we are treated less human.
Am I independent being treated?
Independent. Can you imagine? I used to belong to a particular desk where, it's a OACP. So we would go to have joint meetings with the countries in the Pacific, the countries in the Caribbeans. That there was me. The owner of the desk is honorable member for where Iris Kayingu stood, Mwandi. Sibeso. She's the one who proposed us into that desk. So there was me and Bachisopa. We had to be removed, only to be replaced by, Sande Chanda and Bakafrafta MP. Just because people are not comfortable with you. So we're not asking for special favors.
Just fair.
We just want to be treated fairly.
Honorable, thank you for coming through and joining us on the Diamond.
Unfortunately, we have to chase you off.
I'm used to being chased.
Now we're talking to Nkana Member of Parliament, Benwa Mpundu, just the happenings around Parliament and him being chased out of Parliament on Friday last week. Now let's go on a break. When we get back, we have more to discuss on the show. We'll be looking at international news, but also we'll have some